Today we're going to be talking about one of the most contentious cryptocurrencies on the market. Bitcoin maxis hate it, Vitalik Buterin wants to be it, and there's a whole weird culture around it. But in this video, we're going to be looking at the facts. So, what is XRP? Is it just a scam coin? In this video, I'm going to go over the details of what is XRP, and also make sure that you watch until the end because I'm going to disclose how much of a percentage XRP holds in my portfolio. One quick thing, I'd appreciate if you watch the video until the end, and I've made a couple of crypto analysis videos, so afterwards, please check out one of those. When you finish my videos, that tells YouTube that you like the content and then goes ahead and shares it to other people. So please, to help me grow, a simple like and subscribe will do too. Thanks. Now, let's talk about all the money. Let's first start with some history. What we now know as XRP was started as OpenCoin. OpenCoin was created by Chris Larsen, Jed McCaleb, and Arthur Brito. One thing that I noticed about this initial team is that Arthur Brito is incredibly hard to research and find information about. We have some pictures of him, but we're not even sure who exactly he is. So I'm not sure if he's just a private person or if this is for some other reason. OpenCoin was based on an invention by David Chaum in the 80s. While Chaum invented the core idea of the mechanism, OpenCoin seeks to define his protocol to allow for everyday use of the invention. Now let's get into the interesting part. David Chaum is the grandfather of digital cash. And for this video, I'm going to pivot on him, and I promise it's going to make sense, because I think having an understanding of him and the significance of his influence in XRP and XRP's origin is important to understand. Chaum wrote a significant amount of papers back when he was studying at Berkeley, most of which was geared to cryptography, some peer-to-peer cryptic networks, and digital cash payment systems. Chaum is the inventor of secure digital cash. He wrote a paper that introduced the cryptographic primitive of a blind signature. This paper inspired the technology for OpenCoin. This same paper has been described as the technical roots of the group Cypherpunk and the Cypherpunk movement. Yes, that's right, the same group that had Hal Finney and Adam Beck, both of which have been suggested to be Satoshi Nakamoto. I'm just gonna say this next thing and move on. I read most of Chaum's work, and I couldn't help but notice the grandfather of digital cash uses double spaces. Take that for what you will. OpenCoin had a number of initial investors, some of which were the early investors into Bitcoin, like the Bitcoin Opportunity Fund, currently known as the Digital Currency Group. Barry Silbert is the CEO and one of the early investors and adopters of Bitcoin. Google Ventures was also in the round of early adopters. Jed McCaleb and David Schwartz, the current CTO at Ripple, and Chris Larsen developed Ripple, an open source payment platform that operated quick, easy, and a low-cost way to exchange currencies. Ripple at the time was also the name of the currency, which we now know with the abbreviation of XRP. And Ripple was obviously one of the currencies tradable on the Ripple platform. At one time, OpenCoin, the company, said, Ripple will likely be the easiest way to sell your Bitcoin. Ripple's built-in exchange will allow people to buy and sell their Bitcoins using any other currency on the Ripple network. Now this is a source of a lot of confusion, so let's break down the nomenclature. Ripple was renamed to XRP, the digital currency. The system that XRP operates on is the XRP ledger, which is an open source blockchain ledger run by a series of nodes and validators across the world. And finally, OpenCoin rebranded the company to Ripple. So now, Ripple is the company, and XRP and the XRPL is the open source blockchain system and native currency. If you're a little confused, that's okay. Ripple did not make this easy to understand at all, so most of the blame goes down to bad marketing. Let's talk about the validators. A common criticism of the XRP ledger is that it's not decentralized and requires Ripple's approval before running a node on the system. So I wanted to dispel some of the misinformation and look at what it takes to become a good validator. So a good validator on the XRPL must be available, have close to 100% uptime, in agreement the majority if not all the times with the other nodes on the ledger, issues timely votes, and is identified. So yes, you can't run an anonymous node, but I would say that the requirements seem pretty fair considering that we want a safe system. And this also helps us weed out bad actors. Ripple publishes a validator list with all the recommended validators. Ripple strongly recommends using exactly that list on production servers. Taking a look at the validator list, a lot of them are businesses. Some are well-known crypto organizations, universities, and of course, Ripple. Even an organization like the SEC is running a validator node. Yeah, the same SEC that's suing Ripple. Don't worry, we're gonna get to that. These requirements aren't unreasonable. It seems more in defense to weed out bad actors and to confirm the integrity of the system. Now, the reason why I'm spending so much time on the validators is because a lot of maximalists will say XRP is centralized because Ripple Ripple controls the validator list. Where that's sort of true, it's obviously not representative of the reality. Now, when you run a node, you don't get any rewards, and it costs as much as it takes to run a small email server. So obviously there's no incentivization to have nodes on the network, other than people that are only interested in keeping the integrity of the system. Let's talk about the tech. Now, I want to be clear, this is why I invest in XRP, not any of the other theories, nothing but the technicals. In a lot of ways, XRP was far ahead of its time, and it's still one of the better cryptocurrencies. XRP settles in 3 to 5 seconds. XRP burns 0.0002 XRP every time it has a transaction. Documented, XRP has about 1500 TPS, but often David Schwartz and Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO, have toted around a 70 TPS, which if promised, that could mean that the system is really scalable. Just to put that in perspective, current stock markets have a TPS of around 80,000. We'll talk about that later. The token distribution is also something that Ripple gets criticism for. So let's show and explain what's happened with XRP's tokenomics. Unlike proof of work like Bitcoin and Ethereum, all the XRP was generated at its inception. This allows for almost a carbon neutral currency, one that doesn't require being mined. I personally don't mind generating all the currency. It seems like a logical decision when you think of efficiencies and climate change. There are roughly 45 billion XRP in current circulation, and there are nearly 55 billion in escrow. Ripple locked this XRP in this escrow, releasing 1 billion XRP every month. Ripple created this to provide a predictability for XRP supply. Ripple sends out a report every quarter describing exactly what happened to that XRP. And a lot of the XRP, if you read into the reports, have been put back into the escrow and tagged on to the end of the escrow term, which means that once the initial 55 billion is out, anything that was placed back in will go through the same cycle of being released at 1 billion at a time until it's finally gone. Chris Larsen himself has 5.19 billion XRP, and that's in his personal holdings. So that's not to say that he got all of it at inception, and that's not to say that he didn't receive any as bonuses from working at Ripple. Jed and Ripple came to an agreement of 7.3 billion XRP when Jed left. Jed signed an agreement saying that he'd be limit at how much he could sell to make sure that he doesn't make up much of the market volume. Now, this number can be fluctuating depending on how much volume of XRP is being traded. So if more XRP is being traded, the more Jed can sell. Jed donated 2 billion XRP to a donor advised fund. So Jed had approximately 5.3 billion XRP when he left Ripple. So again, Jed is allowed to sell 1% of the daily volume, and Jed's sales only make up 1 to 2% of the entire market volume. Brad Garlinghouse, the current CEO and a former executive at Yahoo, also has a significant amount. Again, I'm not sure exactly what's been provided to him in terms of bonuses or whatnot, but you can safely assume that he probably acquired most of it by working at Ripple or buying his own XRP. It's known that some Ripple staff have even received XRP as bonuses. So let's be clear. XRP is an asset. I personally feel if somebody owns that asset, they're within the right to sell a portion of their asset. Even Korean esports gamers are now getting paid into XRP. Obviously, if they sell, that XRP should be considered as a currency. And if you look at other CEOs, Jeff Bezos sells Amazon. This is a very common practice. People sell stock and assets. So personally, if an executive at Ripple sold some of their XRP, it wouldn't ring any alarm bells with me, unless there was some sort of insider trader information or other circumstances that could make the situation potentially illegal. If you look at Satoshi Nakamoto, he holds around 2 million Bitcoin. What would happen if Satoshi sold some of his Bitcoin? Would that Bitcoin become a security? It's a question being asked in the crypto community right now. And of course, this SEC lawsuit doesn't only impact XRP, but it could potentially impact a wide amount of cryptocurrencies in the United States. But we'll talk about that in a second. XRP's current market cap is $14.5 billion. And the current price is around 29 cents. Okay, it's time to talk about the SEC. So let's talk about the legality of XRP being a security or not. So the crux of the SEC's case boils down to XRP that Ripple, Brad, and Chris Larsen sold. Now, a bunch of people have shouted on the rooftops that XRP is not a security and XRP is indeed a currency. Even the Justice Department considers XRP a currency. However, when it comes down to legislation and regulatory clarity, we haven't really been getting any direction from the SEC, and they've seemed more interested in enforcement than regulations. A security is an investment contract, something that you're expecting a profit off of somebody else's work. This definition of a security came from the Howey test, and this was established in the 30s. The whole case was around people purchasing orange groves and the operators of the orange groves sending them amounts of the monthly profit, essentially renting out the orange groves is how I understand it. And then ultimately the Supreme Court decided that that was indeed a security. So could XRP be considered a security? Kind of. With how the SEC is currently defining it, they're just looking at the investment contract portion. So the whole issue that the SEC has is the XRP that Ripple sold during their funding rounds. Now the creators of Ripple gifted the XRP to Ripple, but those same creators created Ripple, so that's not really an argument that would stand up in court. In a way, under the SEC's definition, the initial coins could be considered an ICO. However, we've seen this before. We've seen the sale of coins at a specific point be deemed as security, but the coin itself not. Could that potentially happen? I suppose legally that's an outcome that could happen. Would that impact XRP's price? Most likely not. Most likely after a situation like that, we'd have future clarity. And plus, there's a lot of talk right now that Ripple might not be able to sell any more of their XRP, which poses an interesting question. What happens to the XRP in escrow? Subscribe to keep up to date on the case because I will be bringing more videos about the case and XRP. Now let's be clear. XRP is a security like oil is a security to Exxon. Ripple obviously wants the XRP ecosystem to grow. This obviously would increase the value of their company, but XRP isn't representative of Ripple's value. Ripple sells private shares of Ripple stock. In fact, they were going to IPO this year. In my opinion, if the SEC does go down this route and does deem XRP a security, that same criteria could be levied on almost 90% of the current cryptocurrencies out there. Make no mistake, as bad as this case is for Ripple and XRP, it's equally as bad for the crypto ecosystem as a whole. And what's worse is it mainly hamstrings the United States. Money flows where it's easiest to go. So in the next 10 years, maybe New York won't be the financial capital of the world. I think right now the US is in a perilous time with crypto regulations. Brad Garlinghouse has continuously said that we need regulatory clarity. They've worked with the regulators, making sure that they haven't done anything illegal. But in recent months, there's been talk of Ripple moving overseas and moving the HQ out of San Francisco. So this all comes down to 14.6 billion XRP, 3.9 billion in market sales, 4.9 in institutional sales, 4.1 in other distributions, 1.7 Chris Larson's XRP, and 321 million sold by Brad Garlinghouse. Now these sales have always been public. They've never been hidden. In fact, blockchain systems in nature will always be available to anyone that wants to validate the information. And if you just take a look at the SEC's move, none of it makes sense. This lawsuit was filed days before he left office. Everything about the timing just seems odd. But then you look at some of the previous conduct with the SEC, like when they sued Elon Musk for making a joke about the stock price being at 420 and that funding would be achieved. Well, speaking for myself, anyone could tell that that's a joke. After the SEC sued Tesla, Tesla's stock dropped 50%. Elon had this to say in 60 Minutes.
Look at you.
No, I want to be clear. I do not respect the SEC. I do not respect them.
Recently, the SEC has operated more as a shakedown organization, just trying to get a piece and not caring at all about the investors that they're supposed to protect. I live in Canada. In Canada, we have clarity. The rest of the world, Japan, other big countries, financial organizations like the IMF, central banks, and big businesses recognize that XRP is a currency. So for investors, legally, does the SEC have grounds here? Still, the answer is kind of. The law is just vague. The Howey test is out of date. And it's not going to work when we're classifying cryptocurrencies. Undoubtedly, a lot of tokens could be considered securities. And some, if not most, ICOs have been potentially harmful. But I would argue that blanket regulation isn't going to help anyone. It's only going to stifle growth. The sad part is this only hurts the United States. We already see certain states can't buy certain cryptos. They can't use certain exchanges or DeFi products. If regulations don't become more specific and targeted, then the US seriously has a chance of losing its spot at the new fintech table, putting areas like Singapore or other crypto-friendly countries in the spotlight for the new financial hub of the world. My personal hope is that this case is a blessing. I'm hoping that this case forms new classifications and a new way to determine whether or not a cryptocurrency is or is not a security. Now, the initial XRP tokens being deemed a security is a reality, and the current tokens in escrow could also be deemed as a security if Ripple's not allowed to sell them. So again, that brings us to the question, what happens to the escrow? Unfortunately, I don't have answers for that. With the new SEC chair, Eli Rossman, with Hester Pierce's support in the crypto space, and others fighting for regulatory clarity, I am confident regulatory clarity will be the outcome. But for anything, you must assess your own risk. This court case puts a shadow on XRP, but often the scariest time to invest is the best time. It happened with Tesla and several other organizations. Shakeouts are normal in markets like these, especially when they're this small. I've assessed my personal risk, and I've continued to accumulate XRP throughout this whole court case. You might be asking yourself this far into the video, what is the purpose of XRP? And really, this is where a lot of misconceptions come in. Ripple directs their current business at remittances. global transfers, sending money around the world, getting rid of SWIFT, the archaic system, which sure, it's a $1 trillion problem to solve. The current system's inefficient. Think about how long it takes to transfer large amounts of money. Well, with XRP, you can do that in a matter of seconds, just for a couple cents. Some banks hold high reserves of currencies just so they can facilitate those transfers. So if they often get transfers into the RMB, for example, they would potentially have a reserve in a Nostro Vostro account. XRP allows banks to deploy that capital, to start issuing it out as loans and make more money. And that's what it all comes down to for the banks. But this is just one of XRP's uses. XRP and its potential transactions per second also has the potential of tapping into the FX market. Yeah, the stock market, options, trades, derivatives. XRP just recently went through a fork, and this will be released sometime this year. Spark brings smart contracts to the XRP ledger. Now it's important to note that Vitalik Buterin might have gotten the idea for smart contracts from Stefan Thomas, the CTO at Ripple at the time. In fact, Vitalik Buterin slept on his couch. Vitalik Buterin wanted to be an intern at Ripple, but alas, his dreams were dashed, and it didn't quite work out for him. I wonder, with a fraction of a cent of transfer fees, who has the actual shitcoin? Now I'm obviously an ETH bull. It's just a joke. Calm down. It's okay. There's plenty of room in the space. Having smart contracts allows for us to expand. Start looking at derivatives. Now it's okay if you don't know what a derivative is. That's by design. But derivatives are options. They're contracts. They're shorting, longing. They're betting on a presidential election. Anything that you can think of can be turned into a derivative. It's just an agreement. The current derivatives market is so vast that we don't even know the actual number. Estimates are between $600 trillion and $1.8 quadrillion. I'm not even making that up. The sheer amount of value in the derivatives market is staggering. With the technical aspects of XRP and Spark, they seriously have a chance to bite into that market. All it takes is for some smart developers to build the system. The XRPL could also be used as a basket to hold other currencies, which we've heard time and time again that the new global reserve currency might not just be one currency or gold, but a basket, a group of currencies. Let's say XRP can take just 1% of everything that I've discussed. Nostro Vostro accounts, CBDCs, the FX market, just 1%. That would bring XRP well over $400. And I believe this is truly what we mean by all the money. I'm not saying this is something that's happening in the short term. I'm not saying that after the SEC case, we're magically going to be hopped up onto exchanges and all of a sudden 400 plus XRP. But I am saying, once the framework is built, and in the future, this is a real possibility. Having the Amazon of currencies is a possibility, but I'm no financial advisor. If I haven't made it clear already, I'm an obvious XRP bull, but that's because I've done my research, and I'm in support of Ripple and their transparent conduct. I recognize that some people have issues with Ripple selling the XRP or having control over the escrow, but I would argue here, is monetary policy really better as it is today? Sure, I don't believe monetary policy should fall under one business. But in my opinion, just as church and state is separated, so should the money. I don't think in 2021 that we should have monetary policy under the decision of politicians. I think we need a better way, and having elected officials just deciding to print money when they're in a deficit doesn't really make much sense. We need to decide to put monetary policy into our own hands. As I said before, Nixon's taken us off the gold standard. This effectively put all other trade and all other world currencies at the mercy of the United States dollar and the American monetary policy. This was fine when the American economy was booming, and now stocks are shooting at an all-time high. The economy is disconnected from the markets. Jobless numbers are soaring, and the national debt is increasing at a breakneck rate. 1/3 of the US's money was printed in 2020, and there's no signs of it slowing down in 2021. I personally think that the need for a currency like XRP is needed. We know that Ripple works with regulators. They work to make sure that XRP is legislatively compliant. Ripple has been behind a lot of doors, making sure that they are operating within the law. And like it or not, Ripple has fostered a lot of growth in the crypto space. Ripple fighting for these regulations, trying to get XRP clarity, is going to help the crypto space in general. But when you have a crypto that is legislatively compliant, that'll be very helpful when we need to integrate the legacy financial system onto the blockchain. The bottom line here is with the technology, XRP can do great things here. So here's my opinion and my holding. XRP is currently 30% of my active holdings. Now XRP is risky, I'm not doubting it. Investing in XRP with an active case against them is something that you have to take on some risk for. But what XRP is doing is changing the financial structure. And I personally believe, for global economics to move on, we need to upgrade the system. And I believe that XRP is the easiest and most compliant vehicle to do that. In the short term, I do see previous all-time highs coming back. We may see a $3 plus XRP, but that'll most likely happen once this case is concluded. Now, of course, I could be completely wrong, and with that, XRP is one of my largest holdings of my portfolio. This is counterbalanced with the healthy amount of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I have a lot of different alts. So I feel confident in the risk that I'm taking, I've assessed my risk tolerance, and I've done my research. I'm also young, and if I lose this investment, I can always make it back. So you have to personally assess what you can risk and what your tolerance is. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope I brought a clear, unbiased presentation for you. I understand a lot of the hate that Ripple gets, but very few can say that Ripple's had a net negative on the crypto ecosystem. I believe in Ripple's capability and the problems that the company is actively solving. And I think they're going to really foster a healthy ecosystem for XRP and other cryptos to grow. I want to give a special shout out to all my subscribers. Thank you, we hit 361. That's awesome. We've grown so quick in the last couple of days. You guys have been incredible, super insightful comments. Please keep up the discussion below, I really enjoy it. If you enjoyed this video, please share it to Reddit, Twitter, wherever. The more the video is shared and the more it's viewed, the more YouTube realizes that my content's of value to you guys. I obviously put a lot of work into these videos, but I'm also very happy with the growth that we've had so far. Please leave a like in the video and subscribe for more crypto news and analysis. To the XRP community and the XRP haters, happy hodling.